Hello ladies and gents, welcome to CG Reacts, and this is why US aircraft carriers go completely dark at sea by the channel Navy Media. Yeah, I like this channel so far. I've been reacting to this channel for a while now, and the topics this channel brings up are really good. I'm guessing to avoid detection for some reason, or I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because does going dark matter in modern world? Isn't like infrared signatures and like radar signatures is probably going to be a better option than visual thing? I don't know. I don't know why they do it. This is why this video is going to be fun. Let's watch one. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe, so that way I know which type of videos to react to more. And comment down if you want me to react to any specific video. And yeah, let's watch one.
In total darkness, they recover them with no runway lights. And they do it all on a floating city the size of 3 football fields in the middle of the ocean. But here's the twist. Aircraft carriers don't use headlights. Not at the bow, flight deck, not even during night ops. Why? If you've ever looked out over the sea at night, you know it's pitch black. No streetlights, no city glow, just water and sky. And yet, cruise ships have lights. Cargo vessels glow like Christmas trees. Even smaller naval ships carry navigation and deck lighting. But the most advanced, most powerful warship on the planet? Dark as a ghost. So, how does a carrier safely steam through dangerous waters, launch multi-million-dollar jets at night, and recover them, all without a single beam of light cutting through the dark?
Remove that light, how dark it is. Okay, how do they land without the light? That's insane, man.
It's not just for mystery, and it's definitely not because they can't. The answer lies in a mix of physics, stealth, decades of combat experience, and a tactical mindset that says, if they can see us, we've already lost. Tonight, we'll step into that darkness and shed light onto what the Navy doesn't. You'll learn how light behaves differently over the open sea, why headlights on a ship are more of a liability than a tool, and how aircraft carriers become nearly invisible at night by design. Because the next time you see grainy footage of an F-35 landing on a silent black deck, just remember, they're not landing blind. They're landing by feel, by systems, and by a doctrine that turns darkness into an advantage.
By feel?
If aircraft carriers don't need lights, do they even want you to know where they are? Out in the open ocean, light doesn't behave the way it does on land.
Okay, jet pilots better be getting paid a lot for that. That's insane.
There are no trees, no buildings, no pavement to soak it up. Instead, any light source, no matter how small, spills out across miles of flat water like a signal flare. Even a handheld flashlight on a deck can bounce off the waves and be seen from over 10 nautical miles away on a clear night. That's the thing about the sea. It reflects, it amplifies, and it betrays. Which is
I mean, light intensity drops by exponents, I guess. I'm pretty sure, like, maybe I'm getting confused. No, it does do that. But it's still enough to get picked up by something. If it's pitch black, it's ocean, right? But then again, isn't like a lot of cargo ships go by as well? When you see that globe and map of how many cargo ships are going, it's littered the whole planet. So like, being visible, is that much of an issue? Like, yeah, that could be a cargo ship. Nobody's just gonna think, oh, yeah, that must be a, like, carrier or something. I don't know.
Exactly why aircraft carriers don't use headlights. Okay, let me break that down a little bit for you. A headlight on a car has one job: light the road ahead. But at sea, there is no road, no lane markings, no curves to follow, just empty water and a compass bearing. A giant forward-facing light on a warship wouldn't reveal anything helpful, but it would reveal everything to a potential enemy, especially in a combat zone. Modern night vision, thermal sensors, and satellite optics are so advanced
Yeah.
that even the tiniest light signature can give away a ship's location, its heading, and even its class. One bright glow off of the hull, and you're not just visible, you're vulnerable.
Oh my god, I just thought of it. I mean, it's a big ship, it's a big carrier. So, would that be a strong infrared signal? It wouldn't be, right? Because engine room would be hot, but it's going to be very internal. So, it's not going to have like same signature outside. So, it's not going to glow or something. So, infrared wise, you're not going to be pick up much there. Radar. What radar? On the ocean, where there's a lot of noise. It's not easy to have a radar like, like anything on ocean. I mean, yeah, you're not going to be completely stealthy, obviously, but you can't really rely on radar that much. So, yeah, if you shut off the light, technically it's much harder to detect a carrier. That's insane, man.
But this isn't just about stealth, it's about safety. Using visible light on deck can blind your own crew. Your eyes adapt to the darkness over time. Turn on a spotlight at sea and you destroy that night vision instantly. Pilots landing at night rely on a very specific low light environment, flooded with brightness, and you make the approach more dangerous, not safer. That's why aircraft carriers use specialized lighting, red, blue, and green deck lights that preserve vision and minimize reflections. These
Why red? Because red is not that intense. It's not going to carry long distance, right? So you can use red light because it's low intensity. It's not going to be like far reaching, obviously. So way out in the distance, people are not going to be able to pick out there's a red light on there.
lights are often shielded, dimmed, or positioned low to the surface, just enough to work, never
Low
enough
energy.
to be seen. In other words, a carrier doesn't light the way forward. It hides in plain sight. So the next time you wonder why it looks like the ship is sailing blind, it's not. It's seeing everything and making sure that you see nothing. So, if a 100,000-ton aircraft carrier is moving at 30 knots through pitch black water with no headlights, how does it not slam into something? Here's the answer. It doesn't need eyes when it has sensors. Modern carriers don't see the ocean the way you and I do. They don't rely on vision. They rely on systems. At the heart of that capability is a whole suite of high-tech navigation tools designed to make lights obsolete. First, there's the radar, the real eyes of the ship. These massive spinning dishes don't just detect objects, they calculate speed, bearing, size, and movement. From tiny fishing boats to fast-moving threats, radar systems build a digital map of everything within range, day or night. Then there's sonar, used below the surface. Submarine hunters, underwater threats, carriers track them too. Combined with sonar buoys and data relayed from escort ships, nothing approaches from below without being noticed.
Just put infrared cameras 360 degree. There you go. I mean, yeah, you have radar, you have sonar, but might as well have infrared cameras. Why not?
But the human factor? Still critical. The bridge crew, especially the officer of the deck, or the OOD, and the navigation team, are trained to read electronic charts, interpret radar returns, and manage safe passage using GPS, inertial navigation, and constant ship-to-ship coordination. And let's not forget the Combat Information Center, or the CIC, the brain inside the hull. It compiles all of the data, radar, satellite feeds, sonar, even intelligence intercepts. Every second, the crew inside the CIC sees a full 360-degree picture of the battle space. Lights? Well, they just get in the way. It's not that aircraft carriers are sailing blind, it's that they're sailing smarter. Compare that to commercial vessels, which do use lights, because they have to. Cargo ships follow maritime law that mandates navigation lighting to avoid collisions. But a U.S. Navy warship? it has exemption rights during military operations. It's allowed to go dark. And when it does, it's often surrounded by destroyers, cruisers, and submarines, all acting as forward scouts and silent escorts. In other words, the carrier doesn't need to light the ocean to know what's out there. It already knows.
Why does he need to have a light? Usually you need to throw light out there to see if there's problem. The aircraft carrier group itself is a problem. Other people needs light to see if there's an aircraft carrier group there, not the other way around. That shot of like Virginia class submarine in dark water, just silently going there. That's insane, man.
Because when your warship can track a blip the size of a kayak from 20 miles away, lights are just a liability. If radar, sonar, and GPS gives carriers the vision they need to navigate safely, then why keep the lights on anyway? Because in the world of naval warfare, visibility isn't just a detail, it's a weakness.
Yeah.
Every photon that escapes into the night is a signal, a broadcast, a neon sign that says, "Here I am." And for a ship as powerful and as valuable as an aircraft carrier, that kind of attention is unacceptable. Carriers are the most targeted vessels in modern naval warfare. They're floating air bases, command centers, and symbols of American power, all wrapped into one steel hull. Which means the first goal in any operation isn't to attack, it's to not be seen. And that is where EMCON comes in. EMCON, short for Emissions Control, is a doctrine that governs everything from radio signals to radar pulses and, yes, light.
Listen.
Under full EMCON, a carrier strike group goes completely dark. No transmissions, no signals, no glow. Even non-essential systems shut down. It's stealth mode, but on a whole new level.
Entire electromagnetic spectrum, including light, has to be controlled. That just makes sense.
Even on the deck, lighting is surgically controlled. Catapult crews use shielded flashlights. Landing signal officers wear glow tape. Pilots navigate by heads-up displays and infrared beacons. No spotlights, no strobes, just enough to function, never enough to reveal. Because when a carrier sails into contested waters, the goal isn't to look impressive. It's to be invisible. So if you ever wonder why the world's most powerful warship hides in the dark, the answer is simple. Because the moment it's seen, it becomes a target. Operating in darkness doesn't mean total blindness, though, and it definitely doesn't mean chaos either. While aircraft carriers avoid visible light to remain
I think most of the reason must be that some fisherman or some civilian spots aircraft carrier and alerting, let's just say China or someone like, yeah, I spotted an aircraft carrier in this region. That is a very, important information that might cause issue. If China doesn't even know where the aircraft carrier is and it suddenly appears in like China Sea, that's a threat. But if China get some fisherman told them 2 days ago that, yeah, I saw it near Hawaii or something, they know it's coming, right? I mean, yeah, militaries would have like radars and infrared sensors. Civilians are not going to have it. So if a cargo ship is going and they don't see anything, fair enough. But if they see like glowing aircraft carrier going past, you notice that. I think that must be the main reason.
In World War II, the dangers became painfully clear. German U-boats prowling the Atlantic hunted targets by silhouette. Merchant ships sailing with lights on were spotted and sunk with terrifying efficiency. Fast forward to the Falklands War in 1982,
All right.
where the British learned this the hard way. The Argentine Air Force launched low-altitude attacks on British warships using visual cues alone.
Ooh.
Ships that weren't fully darkened or had visible reflections became bullseyes. One hit on
All of them. In the Falkland Wars, Argentina actually put up a fight against Britain. Oh, come on. I remember Falklands as like British having like 17-mile long guns. and Argentina having like 9 or 10 mile long guns, and British literally like stand like 12, 13 miles and just shell the hell out of them. That's one of the details I know of. I didn't know they literally put up a fight and destroyed ships of British. That's insane.
HMS Sheffield, caused by a radar-guided Exocet missile, turned into a deadly fire. The missile locked on due to electronic emissions, but visual confirmation sealed the fate. Even more recently, in the 2000s, smaller navies suffered losses due to overlit operations in high-risk waters. In the Gulf of Aden, for example, merchant and military vessels traveling without proper lighting discipline found themselves vulnerable, not just to pirates, but to drone surveillance and infrared tracking. The U.S. Navy took those lessons seriously and elevated them into doctrine. During the Cold War, going dark became an art form. Subs perfected silent running, surface ships practiced blackout operations during night transits, and carriers? They became the masters of stealth through silence and shadow. Exercises often simulated operations under full EMCON. Radios off, radars limited, and lights completely blacked out. Even more recent conflicts, especially in the Red Sea and the South China Sea, U.S. carriers operated near contested waters where foreign reconnaissance drones and spy satellites loomed overhead. Using visible lighting in these environments would be the equivalent of waving a flare in enemy territory. And the stakes have only gotten higher.
I mean, imagine Shahid 139, the big one, not the 136, the small one that they just use as suicide drone. No, I'm talking about the big one, 139, who also does surveillance. Now, does that have infrared camera? I don't know, probably not. It's mostly visible, right? They usually like launch that during daytime just to have a camera on it. If the carrier is pitch black, they're not going to see it. So you think like this is a very small thing in modern times. Just visible light is not enough. But you'll be surprised how many scenarios that would just work.
In an age where satellites can read license plates from orbit and drones can track engine heat from 30,000 feet, being invisible isn't just smart, it's survival. And that's why, when the sun sets, the most dangerous ship on Earth becomes the quietest silhouette on the horizon.
Look at that.
So, here's the truth.
How about the landing,
Aircraft carriers...
In airports, civilian airports, they have to lit up the whole runway, and even then, like, oh, I don't know if I can land it. They're just landing it in pitch dark, and it's on an aircraft carrier. Runway isn't that big. They have to perfectly line it up, otherwise they'll go like in the water.
Don't use headlights, not because they can't, but because every ounce of visibility is a calculated risk. And in the modern battlefield, that risk is rarely worth taking. Every light that's turned off on a carrier is a choice, a strategic one, because these ships operate in an environment where being unseen is just as valuable as being armored.
The darts are on.
Every sensor, every radar pulse, every infrared glow, if detected by the wrong eyes, can become a point of vulnerability. And in warfare, it only takes one weakness. But here's what's really remarkable. In that darkness, aircraft carriers are not disadvantaged. They thrive. They launch jets at midnight. They
Insert Bane quote here. I was born in darkness.
Recover them in silence. They coordinate multi-domain strike packages across oceans without a single visible signal. And they do it with a precision that borders on perfection. It's not magic, it's mastery.
It
This
disappeared.
balance between visibility and safety is carefully maintained by systems, crew, and doctrine. Carriers just don't show up to be seen, they show up to send a message. Sometimes that message is loud. Daytime flyovers, a fully lit deck, jets taxiing for all the world to see. Other times, the message is silence. No lights, no signals, just a faint radar blip, and even that's debatable. That silence says, we're here, and you won't find us unless we let you. It's not just about hiding, it's about dominance. Because when the ship the size of a skyscraper can operate in total blackout conditions with no headlights, no strobes, and still guide $80 million jets safely back to deck, you realize something. They need to be seen. They need to win. And in a world where threats are detected before they're even launched, remaining unseen is the first step to striking first and finishing the fight. So the next time someone asks you why a U.S. aircraft carrier sails without lights, here's your answer. Because it's not lost, it's in control, watching everything and waiting. Now we want to hear from you. If you were commanding a U.S. Navy carrier, would you risk using lights for safety or go dark for stealth? Tell us what you would do in the comments.
These are the small things that we don't think about, really. But like intuitively, we think like, yeah, it must be true. It makes sense how an aircraft carrier group goes completely dark. Now it's an aircraft carrier with what, 3-4 destroyers? One of the, I can't even say the name, Ticoronda, I forgot the name. Those things as well. A submarine. These groups have many ships on it. All of them are like pitch black. Now, what is the distance like between aircraft carrier and a destroyer and the next ship? How much gap do they keep? Like, are they really close by, or like there's decent distance between them? I don't know. But yeah, this whole with Aegis system active, satellite in sky probably like following it, or there is always one satellite in sky. That's how US satellites are. They're everywhere. So all these things always active, Aegis system always active, all this radars working, and it's completely pitch black. Imagine that, like you're on a cargo ship, you see a black silhouette moving, and you don't know what that is. Then you suddenly realize, oh my God, that's a humongous carrier. That's a Nimitz class carrier or Ford class, whatever, just going by. You see destroyers. That's insane. There you go, people. Why US carriers go completely dark at sea by Channel Navy Media. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.